Is Airstream a quality RV? As a RV technician, I decided to go undercover to look at these new Airstreams and to give you my opinion on whether they are quality or whether they're a rolling pile of junk. If you're new here, you might not know that I have a free RV shoppers class. Over 1,000 people have already taken this course, but people are wanting more, which is why I've created a paid version of it, which includes, drumroll please, a smartphone app. So for today's video, I'm actually going to be grading these 3 Airstreams using the app that I've created so you can see how it works. We've got 3 RVs we're going to look at today. The smallest of which is going to be the Airstream Bambi. The Bambi is 16 feet and 1 inches long with an average retail of $56,950. The next Airstream we'll look at is a Airstream Basecamp 20. The Basecamp 20 is 20 feet and 2 inches long and has an average retail value of $52,250. The last we're going to look at is a Airstream Flying Cloud 25FB, and this is the biggest of the 3. It's 25 feet and 11 inches long and has an average retail of about $106,000. If you've been watching my other review videos, you may notice that my scoring system is changing just a little bit. I'm not going to bore you with the details of those changes, but you can read more in the description if you'd like. So after you answer some of the initial questions in the app about details like year, make, and model, it's going to ask you about the type of water heater. For RV water heaters, you can usually tell the type of tankless versus tank type based on the exhaust vent. If the exhaust vent is round, it's a tankless water heater. There's pros and cons to the different types, and so if you go sign up for my free shoppers class or my paid shoppers class, I'll go into more detail about what works best for different types of campers. What I saw is that the Bambi and the Flying Cloud both had a Girard brand tankless water heater, whereas the Airstream Basecamp had a Suburban brand tankless water heater. Now, all of these are high quality in my opinion. They both get a 10 out of 10. The next question in the app is going to be about assessing the RV roof. All of these Airstreams have an aluminum roof. Not only is it a 10, but it's also one of my favorite types of RV roofs for a couple of reasons. One is that the sealants they can use on it aren't something that you have to touch up every single year or every 6 months the way you do for rubber roofs. The other reason is that you don't get bubbles like you can in a rubber roof that can result in the whole roof peeling off. Aluminum roofs are much more resilient and you'll get a lot more life out of them. The next question in my app is going to ask to assess slide outs. Now, the Airstream has the kind that will absolutely never break. If you've not seen an Airstream, you may not know why that's a joke, but Airstreams don't have slide outs. Now, I've read a lot of comments of people saying you should never buy any RV that has a slide out, and I don't believe that. There are good slide out systems that are less prone to breaking. Those are the kinds of things I cover in my shopping class. Next, we're going to assess the refrigerators in these RVs. Now, all 3 of them have an electric 12-volt DC powered refrigerator. The reason I'm not a huge fan of 12-volt refrigerators is that the inverter board in these refrigerators tends to break a lot, and it's real hit or miss as to whether you can get replacement parts for them. Some are better built than others. I actually think the Norcold is one of the best 12-volt refrigerators on the market, so I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 score. The Basecamp and the Bambi have a Nova Cool refrigerator, which I'm giving a 6 out of 10 score. Next, we're going to look at the air conditioners on these RVs. The Bambi and the Flying Cloud both have a Dometic brand air conditioner on it. I give them a 10 out of 10. The Basecamp, on the other hand, they chose to put a Coleman air conditioner on it. In my experience, Coleman air conditioners have too high of a failure rate of just losing their Freon prematurely, which is why I give this a 7 out of 10 rating. Next, we're going to talk about what the cabinets are made of. This is a really important part of the RV because some materials are more prone to water damage than others, and in your kitchen, you're going to have water splashing around. For example, a lot of cabinetry in RVs is actually made out of something called MDF or particle board. MDF and particle board both absorb water and swell up. Particle board will just fall apart. MDF will swell up super thick and essentially destroy your cabinets if water gets on it. What I really liked about all of these Airstreams is that the cabinetry is actually made out of plywood. Plywood is not going to soak up water and swell the way that these materials will. For the cabinets, I give it a 10 out of 10 because all the materials they used are very water impervious. So what was super interesting on the Basecamp 20 is that they used glass doors for their cabinets. If you drop a pot while the door is open on the edge, you could shatter the glass door. Is it quality? I'd say yeah. Is it something I would want in my RV? Probably not. Next, we're going to talk about the countertops. These are all high quality plywood with laminate on it. So the countertops are also a 10 out of 10. Next, let's talk about the suspension on these RVs. The easiest way to tell if a manufacturer has skimped on the suspension of an RV is to look at the cargo carrying capacity. If you're used to looking at fifth wheels, you'll probably laugh at these numbers. The Airstream Flying Cloud can hold a whopping 1,047 pounds of cargo, and that includes any water you put in the fresh tank. When we look at the Airstream Base Camp, its cargo capacity is 529 pounds, just itty bitty. And then we look at the Airstream Bambi, a whopping 264 pounds of cargo capacity, minus any water you put in the fresh tank. Keep in mind on the Bambi, it's going to be very, very easy to overload the suspension by just putting too much stuff in there for your trip. Heck, you put a case of water in there, it's going to be overloaded. And folks, you really don't want to overload the suspension on your RVs because you will break them. Let's talk briefly about the frame on these Airstreams. One of the things I teach in my course is that it's really important that you go and do an internet search on the particular RV you're looking at to figure out if there's any known frame issues with that make and model. When I was researching these RVs, I found that for the Airstream Flying Cloud, and this is particular to models that have a front cargo bay, there's a known issue where the body of the RV can start to separate from the frame. It's a ton of labor to tear this thing apart and to fix it. So in general, I would kind of recommend avoiding those front cargo bay models. So next, the app is going to ask you to inspect the plumbing on the RV. And if you're new to this channel, you're probably wondering, why am I having to look at the plumbing on a new RV? Well, there's a dirty secret about the RV industry, folks. And let me tell you, a lot of RVs, and not just cheap RVs, but terribly expensive RVs, are plumbed incorrectly, plumbed in a way that wouldn't meet code for buildings and creates water leaks. After a recent scathing video where I gave all the Grand Design trailers an F for bad plumbing, one of my viewers went on a factory tour there, and I was very happy to hear that the tour guide has been pestered with questions about this plumbing issue by my lovely viewers. When this viewer asked him if Grand Design was aware that they were using tubing with the wrong type of fitting, he said yes, they were aware, and upper management had said, well, we don't see enough warranty claims about that issue to warrant changing our process. Your plumbing warranty is 1 year. What that means is, yes, it does leak within warranty, and the majority of leaks happen outside of warranty, so they don't care. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So, does Airstream know how to properly plumb an RV? Yes. 10 out of 10. Finally, the last question in my app is asking about the fit and finish, or how well the details were put together on these RVs. And in all three of these Airstreams, I would give them a 10 out of 10. They were all really well done. Why are Airstreams so much more expensive than comparable sized RVs? Are they really worth it? It's an interesting question because part of the increased price is just the name brand. Like, Airstream is so iconic, but there are some other features that actually set Airstreams apart. On this Flying Cloud, the axles actually have a Dexter's Never Lube bearing. They're extremely expensive, thousands and thousands of dollars more than the regular axles that come on travel trailers. Is it worth the extra cost? In my opinion, yes, because it's very low maintenance. You're going to spend money every year having your bearings repacked, and if you don't, you can wind up with a wheel falling off on the highway. Another feature I really like is the smart plug system. It's a better electrical connector than your standard twist lock 50 or 30 amp plug. I've worked on other Airstream trailers that the plumbing faucets in it were all residential type household faucets, very high quality, rather than it being a cheap, lightweight RV specific faucet. I've also worked on Airstreams that had the Aldi hydronic heat in it. These additional and rare features are things that I think set Airstream apart from other manufacturers. Final score for the Airstream Bambi was 96 points. Solid A grade trailer. The Base Camp came in at 93 points, which would be an A-. The difference really being the air conditioner up on the roof. So the total point score for the Flying Cloud is 89, which it lost pretty much all of its points on the known frame issue. So even though this is technically a B+ trailer by this scoring system, I really wouldn't recommend buying it because of these frame issues. So in case it wasn't obvious by the fact that I told you not to buy Airstream's $100,000 travel trailer, Airstream is not sponsoring this video. So if you've found the content today to be helpful, I want you to leave a comment below thanking Arthur. Arthur bought my full shopping course. It's people like this that make my content possible. You get instant access to everything covered in the course, videos, as well as the app that you've seen me grading these RVs with today. With that app, you can instantly assess any RV you're looking at and get a score with the breakdown showing the quality of all the different components. Plus, included in the subscription, you get access to my master database of all the RVs that I've graded so far. If you're interested in what another grade A RV is, in fact, one that got a perfect score in my system, it costs half as much as an Airstream. Stay tuned for my next video. Make sure and hit subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to know exactly when that new video comes out.